Good morning, hello, I'm Rachel from I Printed That, and I'm going to be sharing with you today how to make these cute little hand warmers. You're going to print them and then sew them and fill them with rice. You put them in the microwave just for 30 seconds, and then if like me you're a little bit hesitant to go on your daily exercise because it is so cold out there at the moment, then pop one of these in your pocket, and when your hands get cold, just put them in for a nice little warm up. So the first thing we need to do is the print, and I'm going to show you how to screen print using some really basic craft materials. You will need a piece of net curtain, make sure it's plain weave, very fine. You'll need an embroidery hoop, a pencil, some PVA glue, and I've also got a couple of brushes, a large one for doing large area work and then a small one for the detail. Some fabric paint, and also an old credit card or similar. So to start with, we need to make our screen up, and that's using just an embroidery hoop and this old net curtain. Cut the net curtain just slightly bigger than your embroidery hoop. Lay the smaller hoop onto the table, put the net curtain over the top, put the larger one over the top of that. So just like you were doing embroidery. And then I'm just going to tighten the screw. Like that. Tighten all the way, and then pull the net curtain fabric very tight so that you make a drum with it. And that is a basic screen, just some fabric, very fine fabric, pulled tightly over a wooden frame. The next thing we need to do is put our design on there. So for this bit, I'm just going to pop you down so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I've got my design here. This template will be available on my website, iprintedthat.com. Go to the tutorial section. I'll also post the link to it in the comments below so you'll be able to access it easily. So I place my screen flat side down, and then just using an HB pencil, I'm just going to trace that design. You'll have a bit more time to do this than me. Just going to quickly trace that for you. If you make a mistake, don't use a rubber to rub it out because that will clog up the screen. You can either ignore the mistake because it won't matter on the final print, or you can just wash it with water. That's it. I've just done that very quickly. So that's our design traced onto the screen. Just blow some of that lead out so that doesn't mess up our design. So now what you need to do is to flip the screen over so that the flat side is facing up towards you. Now, just so you can see this, for the purposes of the session this morning, I'm just going to go over the line, the traced line, so that you can see it. But you won't need to do this when you do it, as long as you can see the image through your net curtain. As I say, just so that you can see it for today. Just going to quickly trace that. So just make sure that my fabric is pulled tight again. And now I'm going to start painting on the PVA. So screen printing is what's known as a resist printmaking technique. That means that you need something to resist or to stop the ink from getting through the tiny holes in our screen. And we're going to be using PVA. So just remember, where you paint the PVA, the ink won't go through, and where you leave the screen open as it's called, or where you don't paint the PVA, that's where the ink will go. And that's what creates our image. If you've just joined us this morning, I'm showing you how to screen print fabric using some very basic materials. I've got an old net curtain, very plain weave. You can use muslin for this or chiffon. Just make sure you can see through it. It's a very fine plain weave. I've then got an embroidery hoop, and I've put the net curtain in between the two hoops, made sure that it's nice and tight, and then I've drawn an image onto it. I traced an image onto it. And if you'd like to get this image, then I will put it onto my website, iprintedthat.com, and go to the tutorials section. So this PVA glue needs to go on fairly thickly. You need to make sure that when you hold it up to the light, no gaps shine through. Getting a nice clean edge there. You'll have a bit more time to do this, but I'm just going to be showing you quite quickly. I'm going to go in now with the thinner brush, and I'm going to mark those little dots on. You can get a surprising amount of detail with this. I'm also being really careful not to smudge the PVA that I've already put on. If you are a bit clumsy, like I often am, then it's a good idea maybe to work from the top to the bottom. Just going to give that a bit more of a definition. As I say, you'll have more time to do this, so take your time over it. Now I'm just going to paint the PVA where I don't want the ink to end up. So it takes a little while sometimes to get your head around it. Where we're painting now, this is where the paint will end up on the fabric, and where we're leaving it blank, that's where the paint will go, where we're not filling in the screen. If you're watching today, please drop a note in the comments, say hi. If I've missed anything out or you've got any questions, please let me know, and I will go through at the end of the session and answer all your questions. Okay. So that's the main parts done. Now, because if you remember I said where the screen is open, the ink will go, I'm just going to go back with a larger brush, and I'm going to give that a bit more of a border and fill this bit in as well. Now you might be thinking, well, when PVA dries, it's clear, so I won't be able to see my stencil. Well, if you want, you can put a few drops of food colouring in, and that will make sure that you can see it even when it's dry. Because it is going on so thickly, you should be able to see it anyway, especially when you hold it up to the light. There, that is our screen and our stencil all done. So if you're short on time, then you can use a hairdryer to dry this. But if, like everyone in the UK, you're on lockdown, you've got all the time in the world. So you can also leave this to dry overnight. But if you wanted to do it all in one day, then I would use a hairdryer. So the next thing to do is to show you how to print. So I've got a piece of fabric here. I would go for light coloured fabric, go for natural fabrics. This is a calico. It's a nice and strong, so I know it's going to last a long time, and it prints really well too. So I've got my fabric laid flat on the table, and I've also just put a piece of scrap paper underneath so that if the ink goes through, it doesn't mess my table up. Here is a screen that I did earlier. You might just be able to see the outline there, but you'll definitely be able to see it as I print. So that's what the screen did look like before it was dry, and now that's how it looks when it's wet. But now it's dry. So I put the fabric down, I placed the screen on top, And now I'm going to use my fabric paint and my credit card to print. I'm printing from the tail to the head end because that's the size of our credit card. So I don't really want to make my image any bigger than my credit card. So I'm going to lay the paint just above where I've left the screen open, so just above the design. And you don't need a lot of paint for this because it doesn't take a lot of paint. And then as I print, I'm just going to show you, I'm going to hold my credit card just off of a 90-degree angle. I'm going to push down really firmly. If I turn it that way, then you'll be able to see the whole process. I'm going to push down really firmly and bring it all the way just past the beak, and that's going to print it. So to do this, I'm going to stand up, because I always find it a bit easier to print if I'm standing up. So I'm holding it just off of 90 degrees. It's nice and firmly, and you're pushing all the ink through the holes, and that's our print done. So now I want to hold the fabric down that I've just printed onto, lift the screen, and there's our print. So it's a nice clear print from just an old net curtain, an embroidery hoop, some fabric paint and a credit card and PVA. So the next thing you need to do is make sure that's dry. Again, you can use a hairdryer to dry this. I would recommend that you just look at the label of for the fabric paint to make sure, because you might need to heat set it before you do anything else with it. So I've got one that I made earlier that's dry, and now I'm going to show you how to turn it into one of these hand warmers. So take another piece of fabric, about the same size, and you're going to place your print on top. Now, normally when we're sewing, we think about putting the right sides together. For this, we're going to put the wrong sides of the fabric together. This means that we'll get a really nice definition as we sew all the way around. Plus, we'll be able to cut just a slightly shy of the print so that we get this nice rustic looking edge, and it really highlights the bird as well. So you can use a sewing machine for this, or you can use just good old thread and needle. Here's one that I've already started. I'm just trying to re-thread the needle because it's coming out. There we go. Here's one that I've already started. So I'm sewing from this needle all the way around with a back stitch. Don't make your stitches too long, because we're putting rice into this. We need to make sure that the rice isn't going to fall through. So you're going to back stitch all the way around with a needle and thread or with a sewing machine, and make sure you sew on the line to get that really good definition. And then I've stopped just before this other needle, so I want to make sure I've got a nice opening to be able to put the rice in. And then when we put the rice in, we can just sew it up. So now I can take those pins out. I'm going to cut my fabric. And I'm going to cut it just sort of a couple of 1/8 of an inch, a couple of millimetres all the way around. If you're just joining us this morning, then we are making screen printed hand warmers. I've shown how to use an embroidery hoop and a net curtain, some PVA glue, fabric paint, and a credit card to print this lovely little bird. And now I've just sewn it to another piece of fabric, and I'm cutting around it, ready to stuff it with rice so that you can make a hand warmer. So at this point, I should say that you can get lots of prints from that screen that we've just made up. Lots and lots of them. And if you're tired of the design and want to try another one, Then just take the fabric out of the embroidery hoop, soak it in hot water for a little while, maybe just put a little bit of washing up liquid in as well, and then the PVA will eventually peel off. So there we have a screen printed hand warmer ready to be stuffed with the rice. Now you can use, I'm going to be using a funnel to do this, but you can also use just a piece of paper, sort of a squarish piece of paper, and then if you just roll it into a cone, secure it with a piece of sellotape, and then you can use that as a funnel. But for the purpose of this, I'll be using a funnel. So I've made sure that the opening is big enough for my funnel to go in. And then I'm just slowly going to fill it with rice. So you want to do it slowly so that the funnel doesn't get blocked up, and also to give yourself a chance to push all of that rice into all of the little corners. A little bit more. If you're impatient like me, then this is quite painful, because all I want to do is just shove all the rice in a little bit at a time is actually less frustrating. I'll just get a little bit more to put in. Oh, just slightly overfilled. There we go. So I'll just get rid of the excess there. And now I'm just going to sew up that opening just with a needle and thread. Make a small knot. And then I'm just going to use a back stitch to fill that up. If you're watching today, please do comment in the comments section. Let me know if it's something that you think might be useful for you to do. If you've got friends that you think would love this activity, then please do share this video once it's been posted online. And if you've got any questions, let me know and I will answer them after the session. So I'm just back stitching the opening closed. You can be a bit neater than me because you'll have a bit more time. Then I'm just going to tie a knot. Cut it off. Just where I've put the frayed slightly, I'm just going to neaten that up. And there you have a screen printed, hand sewed hand warmer, ready to pop in the microwave for about 15 to 30 seconds. Then it's ready to go in your pocket as you leave for your daily exercise and to keep your hands nice and tasty. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm Rachel from I Printed That. If you'd like to get this template, then it's on my website, iprintedthat.com, and I will also put the link in the comments below. Please like and share the video and comment as well, and I will go through all the messages and answer them. Thank you ever so much for watching. Have a great day and stay warm. Bye.